Aloha, my name is Anna Covert, and I'm coming to you from my battleship here on the beautiful island of Oahu. This week on the Covert Code, the topic is the art of succession planning, and my special guest is Perry Kaufman, founder of CPK Consulting and a trusted strategic advisor to founder-led companies for over 40 years. Perry has helped hundreds of businesses navigate topics such as finance, accounting, growth, and today we're here to talk about the delicate art of succession planning and how founders can set up their company to survive into the future. So thanks so much for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Anna, very much. And one quick tweak, it's PSK Consulting.
PSK, like psk.
Yeah, like Perry S. Kaufman. Sorry for the title.
Perfect. Well, thank you for now. We'll never forget it.
There you go.
So to kick us off,
Yeah, so
how did you begin your journey?
oh boy, well, if you want to go all the way back to childhood, how did I get on this path? I was an analytical brain, not necessarily a math maven, but I was very analytical, and I went through school and did pretty well. And when I went to college, the only thing that I absolutely knew for sure is I'd better find a way to get a good job when I was getting out of college because I had no pathway otherwise. And I had an older brother who got an accounting degree. He too was analytic. There's a third who's not, but anyway, the two of us were. And so what I call drifted into the business school. And once there, after a little while, recognized accounting was the most in demand at my time business major. And I was analytical, so I did well in it. So I drifted into that. And then when I was graduating, the biggest accounting firms in the world were interviewing on campus, and 3 of them offered me a job.
Wow.
Salary job, so I couldn't turn that down. So I started in public accounting, and I had a long run in public accounting, very successful. But about halfway through my career, even though I was analytical and can do a lot of accounting and tax was even my specialty. I didn't love it. Okay. It wasn't, you lose your passion for some of that, at least I did for that type of thing. And what I realized was my key to success was people thought I had really good people skills. I could talk to people, I could communicate to people, I enjoyed listening to people. So I've really morphed into more of an advisor for these private companies and their owners than a hardcore accountant. And finally, after I had sold a firm and stayed on for a while, I decided I'm going to, just do this only. I'm going to advise these founder-led companies at the most critical moments in their careers about their options and how to get where they want to go.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. What business school did you go to?
University of Texas.
University of Texas. Oh, okay. I went to Bentley College in Boston. So I was a major, and it was funny when you said that I had a flashback because I did marketing. This is 25 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Back then, it was, Bentley was trying to convince me that it wasn't a serious degree and like that I should do finance or accounting and what was this marketing like? What is this?
Yeah.
But I tried. So I tried to do a minor. I really liked economics, so I tried to do a minor in economics, and it was the only class I ever dropped out of because the second class was like graphs and supply, and it was too much math for me, and I'm like, oh, I think I'm good with the marketing. I'll stay over there, marketing and
management. Hey, Anna, you and I would be a great team, opposite sides of the brain, right?
Right. That's right. So when you first, what kind of is your ideal customer? What kind of founder do you specialize in a different type of industry or is all industries? Who's your sweet spot?
Well, yeah, so really I'm industry agnostic because the things I focus on are broad-based business issues, but I do have a concentration in commercial real estate. And I've worked with a lot of developers and promoters and different types of properties, where they're going from raw land to office buildings to mixed use, multifamily, industrial, all of that. But I've also worked with some smaller technology companies. Uh, Professional services, jokingly, I consider myself an expert in any type of professional services business. So I'll tell you real quick because I didn't tell you my career path. My career path went from KPMG to a very small boutique firm that did nothing but real estate, to starting my own practice, to merging that with a large local practice in Dallas, later taking on the role of managing partner there and merging that firm with a national firm by the name of Armanino, which is California based, or originally was California based. It's national. So my point is that I've dealt with, I feel like I've seen every different challenge that professional service organizations as they grow could face.
Absolutely. Well, and when do you think do most people come to you when when they really when they're like, oh my gosh, they're struggling, or is it more like it's like exit planning, like they're thinking in advance, couple years, and they want coming for long term solutions, or what do you think?
Yeah, I can answer that really well, pretty specifically. And I coined a phrase that I use with people. It's not really unique, but I'm applying it in a unique way. Is that I talk to people when they're at the fork in the road.
Mm.
Now, what does that mean? That means that they have a very successful company, but something is creating discomfort. It could be a range of things. It could be they're getting worn down. They need internal leadership they haven't developed, and so there's constantly people problems or challenges. They may have grown to such a size that they're bumping into public company competitors who are undercutting prices, which are shrinking margins and profits. It could be all kinds of variety of issues, and that they're beginning to think about, where do I want to be 3 to 5 years from now? And it's all hazy. They cannot really imagine with some of the pain points they're feeling right now, how am I going to get there? What's it going to look like? Um, and then there could be all kinds of other issues. Could be partner friction, a number of things. But it is that fork of the road where they are successful. There's no doubt about that, and they're probably very comfortable financially because they have run a successful business for quite a number of years, but they just are now not sure. Everything feels different, but like it's changing.
Yes. Yeah, and so, when people for our listeners, is there like an exercise that you run people through like we do in branding, like a SWOT analysis, but we add on aspirations and results and brand story, like, who are we, who do we want to be when we grow up? What is our sensibility? Are there, kind of just a snapshot of where we are so that we can determine if we're going the right direction. Do you have any kind of tools?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. I do what I refer to as an initial assessment of the company, and I look at four different areas. The first being financial, and it's not solely how healthy they are financially, which is important, but more often is what is their capability to produce timely, accurate, and meaningful financial data for them to make good business decisions. So I give them a grade on that. The next thing I look at is just their operating results. Are they delivering profitability that is commensurate with their peers in their industry? And if they are or aren't, that's something that needs to be understood better. The next category is I do some surveying and interviewing to really get a feel for their culture and to get a sense for how healthy or not, or what type of culture I can glean from that. And then the fourth one, I think you're going to like this one, Anna. So just wait. I ask them, I say, what kind of information have you gathered from your customers to really understand why they do business with you? And sometimes I get a deer in the headlights look.
Yeah.
Well, I just know, right?
I get the same when I ask about conversion rates, like of all
Yes.
opportunities you get to meet with someone or present your solutions, what percent sit and what percent win? And there's like, and how long does it take, the customer journey? It's also, yeah. Well, we just spend more money and then we hope for the best. Well, that's not how marketing works
Mm.
today, yeah.
So anyway, when I give them kind of, this is only my assessment, grade, I give them a grade for the 4 categories. It usually that tells us where they're strong, where they may have a little weakness, where they maybe have a gaping hole. But I use that as a springboard to really probe with the founder or founders. There's sometimes multiple to really find out what are their goals? What do they really want? I mean, sometimes, everybody thinks that what they really want is the pot of gold and they just want to ride off into the
Oh,
sunset.
yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Right.
Let me tell you something. That's not the profiles that I work with. The pot of gold. I'm not saying they already have their pot of gold, but they have a nice pot. It's just a matter. There's so much psychology to this, and you can probably appreciate this as much as anybody. It's really hard when your identity is so associated with a successful company that you created and led for so long to think about what if I'm not doing this? And what am I gonna do? And what is my identity gonna change? So there's a lot of psychology. Not that I'm a psychologist. I call myself an amateur psychologist in this particular venue.
So would you consider yourself more of like a coach than a consultant? Like,
I can be at times. Um, yes, I mean, at times there is some of that, uh, but that's not my end game because honestly, there are better coaches out there if they were if they want to bring somebody in and help them continue on the success path, and coaching is really what they need. I can help some, but I'm not the best at that.
so you're really looking at, once you have this information, are there certain tools you're using to get a competitive assessment of what are the competitors doing? Are there big changes happening, seismic shifts, like where that could impact them that they may be blind to?
Yeah, so I'm a huge believer in a concept. The acronym is VUCA. Have you heard of it? VUCA.
No.
It was developed by the military in the 1990s, I'm told, and Harvard really grabbed it. It stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous.
Ooh.
And that is the world we live in, but even acutely the business world that we live in. So I talked to them about the speed of change. And yes, technology is the easiest thing to say, but there are a lot of other things that are changing rapidly, cultural, uh, and profiles for your people that you work with. There's just so many things that are changing at a rapid speed. So I really bring that discussion to them and ask them to tell me, what do you see that is changing rapidly? And technology is always at the top, and leadership is at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's a dynamic that I see frequently. So I've founded this company 20 years ago. It's very successful for the last 8, maybe 10 years. It's been very lucrative for me. Um, and it just feels like things are changing. And sometimes this conversation happens. Okay, well, what do where is your technology on the scale of, currently competitive, usually a bit behind? And if you get hit by a bus, what team is taking over or who's stepping up? How is that going to work? And oftentimes it evolves to a conversation where they have 2 major investments they need to make: technology update, talent, attraction, retention.
Yes.
And those are often big dollars and risks. And that's when they start thinking, do I really have the energy and really want to go through that and take that risk and go to that higher level? And that's where sometimes they begin to veer towards getting ready to monetize. And I have no dog in the fight. I'm not trying to steer them one way or the other, but I do emphasize that doing nothing oftentimes is your biggest risk.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I mean, and I think that another thing that you really said that really calls out to me, because I do a lot of technology transformation. And
Yeah.
while, a lot of, I mean, in big companies, I do it for Fortune 500 companies, the average big company is using 100 pieces of software. That means they have subscriptions, they have users, they're being all charged the same. People are not even managing the users. I mean, within 3 weeks, I can save people like $1 million or more.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just by saying these are redundancies, these are not being used. Like, is this meeting compliance? And then just scraping away and whittle down. So a lot of times, while it feels expensive, actually going through a technology transformation should have immediate savings.
Well, yeah, some immediate, and then hopefully recurring. So,
Yeah, I mean, and then you start to find out, like, well, who's actually doing what, right? Because when you start to really dive under, oh, well, Cheryl's supposed to be doing that. Well, Cheryl hasn't logged into this program in 3 months.
that's
So, oh wait, Cheryl doesn't work for us anymore. Okay,
that's even worse. Yeah.
that happens all the time. Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. But that's one of the things is that, risk aversion, when you get, that far in and been successful, do I want to put that many more chips back, on the table? Sometimes if there are multiple founders, these types of issues, they have differences of opinion. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
So, um, so my role really is to probe and bring these things to the surface and be an objective, unbiased source of information.
So in terms of succession planning, what are some examples you have of things that people can do? I mean, I know that's a big topic. Like, do you make it employee owned? What are some of the most popular strategies today to preserve legacy?
Well, to preserve legacy.
Well, or
Well,
just, succession in general. I mean, I guess,
yeah. Well, here's what I do most often. Really, there are, three options I see in kind of flavors, let's say. The first one is if you have internal people that you believe in, and it's usually a team. There needs to be what I call an operations leadership team that can really take over operations. Maybe you, founder, can step into a board chair role, really think about strategy, be a resource when needed, but try to stay out of the operational fray, and just oversee and chart your vision for the longer term perpetuity of the organization. The issue there is, do you really have that leadership team behind you? Are you really ready to let go and let them empower them to be able to do those things they need to do? And, are you fine that, if it doesn't work out, you're going to be sucked back in. And, if that happens, the value of the company may have depleted a bit,
Right.
and you may have to rebuild. So anyway, that's one. Okay. Second is bring in professional management. Go out and invest in and recruit top-notch, operators, financial people, in all, technologists and so forth, and put them in a position again to empower them to do what they are professionally capable of doing and stay in an oversight and strategic role. Okay. That um, it's hard to find the first scenario. I'm working on one now, and they're convinced they have it, and time will tell.
Mhm.
Um, and the second is a little bit better because these, professional management level people have a track record. You're going to do your due diligence before you bring them in because they're a big investment, and they're going to have to be incented in some way, likely some type of equity program. Um, and that can make things work well. And then the third is monetize. And in monetize, there's really two paths there. There's the private equity or a strategic buyer. And I think private equity can be a really good option, but there's so many intangibles that have to be right. It's not just the money. They have to respect and want your historical and industry knowledge and be heard for the future decision making. Um, and, they have to at least listen to you about your opinions based upon your experience, even though they may choose to do other things. Um, but the difference with that is you have what we call chips off the table. If PE messes it up, and I've seen that, a number of times, you got your money.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Well, so I guess is there any what are you what should founders start thinking about as a first step in, if they're thinking about it today, like what's the first step in finding the right future, to matching, attracting the right future?
yeah, I think that I like the way I like to start the conversation is what does the company look like 3 to 5 years from now? What's the same? What's different? What what how's it performing as compared to today? And once they tell me that, maybe they tell me, "Oh, we'll be 50% larger." I don't know what they'll say, but I listen to them and I begin to probe questions. Oh, okay, you're going to continue to grow at that pace. Um, what's the competitive landscape look like? How big is the marketplace? How big is your reach geographically? Um, is that viable? What's the path to get there? And and pull out of them, do they have another 5 or 10 years of run in them? Because it's not going to be easier than from ground zero. It's almost like it's not like a startup per se, but the effort level is probably similar.
Yeah, like the momentum and velocity talk, like you have to,
Yes,
yes, double, like could you have enough inertia to, to get the ball to the next level, right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
so, um, and I also, I just try to paint the picture for them. And sometimes when you have these types of conversations, I'm sure you've seen it in your field, is it there's some body language to read, there's some um, you know, confidence level in the responses that tell you something. And so it's oftentimes multiple conversations.
What's a body language tip you can share with our listeners on how to know if someone's they're just like this is good news or not good news, but is there certain things you look for?
I don't. I do it intuitively,
Hmm.
but if I try to articulate it, sometimes you can catch facial expressions. Sometimes you can detect change in tone and delivery of their comments. Um, sometimes you see some fidgety type of body movement. But I think most of it is facial expression and hesitancy in their responses.
Yeah, one that I learned a long time ago, but then after COVID, when we started doing Zoom, it wasn't easy to use, was the feet. So if you're with someone,
Yeah.
where their feet are pointed is a reference. So if someone's feet are pointed like out, like we're sitting together, my feet should be,
Yeah.
but if they start to veer to one direction, that means they're ready to leave.
Oh,
It's
okay. I didn't know
subconscious.
that one.
People
I
start to
like
they
that.
start when they start to shift their where they're gonna go, right?
Their angle. Yeah.
Their angle. But then when you do, it's hard to tell when you're zooming. Right?
That's exactly
When you
right.
need like a second camera, like can we put a camera on you?
That's done completely.
Yeah. But how about working with different cultures? Is there anything, mostly you work with people here in America, and as we become more global, there's a lot of nuances with different leaders.
It's interesting. As I said early in this conversation, I was told historically, and so I've adopted the fact that I have pretty good people skills, and it seems to be the case. I don't have a particular read on people's culture, although I probably react to it. Like sometimes, I'm trying to think of a good example. Sometimes you'll deal with uh, a group or a person's cultural background that is very formal, and you want to replicate that. And
Yeah.
but
Replication.
I haven't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have, and maybe I think I just do that intuitively. Like, uh, I'm not currently dressed formally for this, but sometimes you need to know how to present yourself as well. And if they're more formal, you need to match that.
Yeah, I'll give you a fun example. So, I'm moving out to Hawaii. So I've been here for 20 years, and my first I was working as a marketing director for a salon and spa chain. But then my first started my first agency, I was 28, and I had a company called Go Airlines, and I had an old business partner, and we were working with the Japanese, right? And it was a lot of tours that come from Japan and JAL, and so we're trying to broker this deal for, when the flight comes over from Japan, that they do a puddle jump to other islands through our carrier Go.
Mhm.
And they kept saying, "Oh, that would be very difficult." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that to me meant we can make it that's not a no. Like it's going to be difficult or challenging."
Yeah.
Meant like, "Oh, well, what can we do to resolve it?" And like,
Right.
Vaughn was like, "That means no in Japan. If they say it's difficult, that means it's over." And I'm like, "Oh, wow." You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I probably have experience of that unknowingly. I
Yeah.
don't remember specifics, but I bet you're right. That's true. It makes me think of a guy that I have been talking to for a year or so now. So
Yeah.
I'll pay closer attention.
That's funny. So what do you is there anything that you're excited about, or what do you think about AI? I know everyone's talking about AI. Is it going to change what you do? Do you think it's going to impact do you have a lot of people coming to you now because they're afraid that AI is going to take over and the business they've been building is no longer going to be valid? What are you hearing?
They, yeah, I do not hear founders coming and asking me, how can I apply AI? Because that's not really my thing. But Um, and jokingly, just as an aside, I tell people when they ask me, "What do you do?" And if I don't think that they're really in this world of business, uh, I tell them I really don't do anything. I just figure out what needs to be done and find resources to get it done, which is typically true. But my point is that um, from my kind of the way I work, when I look at that operational result area, and I see a trend the wrong direction, and or I see results that don't compare it favorably to the peer group, then I start asking about technology and articulating to them, hey, you can't stay a step or two behind because in today's world, even a little step or two is really going to put you at a disadvantage. So whether it just be traditional technological upgrades or application of AI, I really push that and say, this is not optional,
Right.
you know.
That's right. Excellent. Well, what's next for you? How do people get a hold of you? And
So I want to include, if you have show notes or what have you, my website is www.perryskaufman.com. And that is distinguished. PSK Consulting is embedded within that.
Nice.
And it'll kind of talk about things that people need to think about, which are the stages of the business life cycle and where they fit, and begin to see where the fork of the road comes. And I do on LinkedIn publish articles twice a month that are trying to be effective to help people recognize different issues. And I'm happy to jump on a Zoom call and, talk to people just like I'm talking to you and see if there's something I can do to help. That's kind of my thing. I have an analytical mind, a lot of business experience, but at my core, I really like to help people.
Wow. Well, thanks so much for being here today, Perry. It was wonderful to get to know you. And
Yeah.
yeah, and to all my followers, please join me next week as I interview another industry expert and topics to help you succeed on and offline. We just reached 32,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm so grateful to everyone who's helped me achieve this milestone, and we're going to just keep pushing forward. Don't forget to like us on YouTube, Spotify, whatever your favorite streaming is, and I will see you next week in the Pixels. Aloha. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Covert Code Podcast. If you're loving the insights we share here, don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more digital innovators like you. Share this episode with your friends and colleagues on social media and help spread the word. And if you're in the solar space or just curious about where clean energy is headed, I'm thrilled to announce my brand new podcast, The Solar Coaster. This show digs into the real stories, trends, and challenges of the solar industry, with bold conversations and powerful takeaways you won't hear anywhere else. Follow the Solar Coaster now so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the Pixels. Aloha.